Today I'm going to show you how I decorated this Cars cake. Come join me. So this cake is going to be a 3-layer cake with buttercream icing. So in advance of decorating the cake, I took a piece of sugar sheet and I printed out an edible image of the Cars logo. I cut it out and then I put it aside in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag for a few days, just to kind of let it sit and wait till I was ready to use it. So I moved on with making some squares out of black fondant. So I used another shape cookie cutter, and then I was able to use that to then shape that shape into a square. So I made a whole bunch of squares out of black fondant, and I put those aside for when I was ready to actually do the decorations for the cake. I did that so that I was all ready on the day that I was prepared for the cake, to make it easier that day. After finishing that, I moved on to stacking the cake. So I put some buttercream onto my cake board so that my cake doesn't slide around as I'm decorating, and then I started to stack the cake. So I added my first layer and then added some buttercream. I'm going to add my next layer and then add more buttercream, and then I will add my next layer and then some more buttercream. From there, I will crumb coat the cake, which you can see that I'm starting to do here. So I'm going to crumb coat the cake to make sure that there are no crumbs in my outside layer of buttercream icing. So I want to try to smooth out those edges and crisp up the top edge as well. So once I have that finished, I'm going to move on to adding the red icing to the cake. And I'm going to smooth that out the same way I did with the white, and also crisp up the edges of this as well. And I'm going to continue to just smooth out these sides. I'm going to take the bench scraper to really smooth out the sides the whole way up the length of the cake. And here I'm smoothing out the top here and making the edges nice and crisp. And with that, then I can prepare to move on to decorate. So I took a large piece of white fondant. Here I am adding that Cars logo to the fondant, because ultimately I'm going to stick this to the side of the cake. I used a bit of water to adhere it to the fondant, and here I am taking an X-Acto knife and I'm cutting out the image, leaving a little bit of white around the outside edge of the image from the fondant. Then I took a piece of black fondant and I'm going to cut out a circle piece and put it onto the top of the cake, which I'll do in a little bit. I also cut a very long white piece of fondant, and here I'm wrapping it around the bottom part of the cake for me to add those black squares that I cut earlier for a racing stripe at the bottom of the cake, which you see here. I'm going back and I'm going to add that black circle to the top of the cake. And that is where the customer is going to put Lightning McQueen on the top of the cake. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that logo to the front of the cake, and with that, that's going to finish our cake. And with that, I'm going to write happy birthday to the customer on the cake board. And this is what our cake looked like. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you miss no content in the future. Thank you for watching.